Hey everyone, welcome to another one of my LinkedIn live events. Today's topic is going to be how to untie our self worth from our work. So, before I begin, I'm just going to quickly check my audio and video. So, just give me a minute. Okay. There is something that's wrong. Wait, let me just quickly check. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's looking fine. All right, great. So, today's topic is an interesting one because this is something that I've worked around a lot with my clients. And repeatedly, I have found that those who experience lack of professional self confidence have been on this end where they feel that their self worth is very tied to their work. So, that is what we're going to be diving deep into today. So, before we go towards anything, we must first understand what exactly we are talking about. So, if I'm using the word like self worth, we need to understand what does self-worth really mean, right? Now again, before even going to that, if you are someone who's attending my live session for the very first time, how we conduct this is that I will be explaining to you a topic in depth, and in between, if you have any questions, simply comment down wherever you're seeing this video or just DM me, and I have my phone with me, so I'll be able to see your questions. And in case you are watching this as a recording, maybe on YouTube or on LinkedIn, and you feel that you have a lot of questions that are coming up, you can just DM me. And if you would like to work with me one on one, you can schedule a trauma informed coaching session with me by DMing me coaching, or you can just find the meeting link in the featured section of my profile. Another very interesting thing to do is attend the free 4-day boot camp that I do on healing childhood trauma. This is an incredible boot camp, and once you attend it, you will not only be able to understand yourself at a level that you've never imagined, you will also be able to understand themes in your life that are going on, right? And the good thing is that now this bootcamp is available as a free recorded class, which means that you can consume it at your own pace and at your own time. So in case you're interested in attending the bootcamp, again, you can just DM me bootcamp on LinkedIn, or you can just go to the featured section of my profile and you will find absolutely everything you need. All right, so let's dive in. Now, what does self worth really mean? Now, you have to understand that self worth, right? The word worth means value, right? So, self worth is how valuable do you feel about yourself. And this concept of self worth is actually like your lungs, your kidneys, and your heart. It's already inside of you. It is not something you get up every day and run after. It is not something that you can earn from outside. Just the way you don't check up every single day that is my kidney functioning all right, is my heart functioning all right, you are in that trust that I have it, you are in that trust that it is working fine, right? Unless and until your body is telling you otherwise. So that is what self-worth is, right? It is inside of you. The value that you think will come from somewhere else is actually already inside of you. So, what makes some people think that they're not inherently valuable? What makes some people run after value or run after things outside of them to earn their value? That is the question we need to be asking. Now, your self worth starts to develop at a very early age. Okay, when you come out of your mother's womb, when you're born, you have no self concept. You have no identity. You have no concept of what is self value. In fact, when a child enters into the world, the child inherently believes that he is valuable, right? He doesn't think twice about should I cry or not for the food that I want, should I poop or not because oh my god what will people think. No, the child comes with an incredible sense of value that whatever I want will be provided to me, because that is what a baby experienced when he was inside his mother's womb. Everything was given to him, right, by his mother. So that is the kind of instinct the baby is born with, or you are born with. Now, what happens after the baby is born is what changes everything. Now, the experiences you've had in childhood is going to determine the level of self worth that you have. And how? See, as a child, you don't understand that people can do things which are not related to you, or people's behavior exist because of the way they are. You internalize everything as a child. So growing up, when you grow up seeing your parents not actually valuing you for whatever reason they're doing, right? For whatever reason they're doing, not valuing you, not giving you time, not giving you attention, not really listening to you, not really being present with you, what you start to develop is that I am not worthy, or that maybe I did something wrong, or that maybe I don't deserve it, right? So this concept of deserving comes into the picture when you don't receive consistent love and attention from your surroundings. Okay, and using the word surroundings because yes, most of us have had parents, but some of us did not have parents, some of us did not grow up with parents, some of us grew up with our relatives, or maybe some of us also did not grow up there, maybe some of us were in foster homes, anything. The point is that when you see growing up in your surrounding that you are not actually given the love and attention automatically, that you have to do something special and only then you receive something, then you make this rule in your head that I have to do something to receive something, I have to do something to earn love, I have to be extraordinary, or I have to achieve something, or I have to do something special, I have to be entertaining, I have to do something to receive something. And when this concept as a foundation sort of starts to sit in your head, that is the foundation of the overachiever's trauma, wherein you start to believe that my self-worth, because how are you deriving your self-worth? From the love you're receiving from outside. That is how you derive self-worth growing up as a child. And as a child, you should be receiving unconditional love and attention from your parents, because your identity, what you feel about yourself, is very tied with what mom and dad are feeling about you, what mom and dad are feeling about themselves, and how they're treating you. So when this connection is broken, when mom and dad are not able to be there for you, when mom and dad are not able to pay attention to you, and the reason could be anything. Okay, we are not blaming mom and dad, we're not saying that they did something wrong, it could be anything. Maybe mom and dad are busy all the time, and they only pay attention to you when you are doing something, when you have, let's say, got good marks, or when you're making them laugh, or when you're doing something entertaining. What is happening here is that as a child you believe that I need to do XYZ for mom and dad to love me, I need to be XYZ for mom and dad to love me. And this XYZ could be anything. For some people it's I need to be perfect, I cannot make any mistake, because if I make a mistake, mom and dad will be angry, mom and dad will be pissed, right? And when a child is receiving unconditional love and attention on a daily basis, the child is not afraid to make mistakes, because even if the child receives the scolding, even if you receive the scolding, you know that mom and dad equally love you. But imagine a child who doesn't receive love and attention, but when he does make a mistake, he does receive the scolding. So what happens to a child like that? The child becomes a perfectionist. The child believes that I have to be perfect all the time. So these kind of people are always looking for some set of rules to abide by. Some people like this always also take to spirituality, where they try to find a set of rules, that okay, this is how I'm supposed to be, this is how I'm supposed to be. So they don't actually trust themselves, they don't actually think they are worthy enough to know that they can do whatever the hell they want with their life, right? So your self-worth comes from how much mom and dad have loved you, and how much they have been present with you, right? How much love and attention they've actually given you, because that is going to create stability and a sense of safety within you, wherein you are going to believe that I actually don't need to do anything special to receive love and attention, to believe that I'm worthy. And that concept, that thing is where worthiness starts to form. And when that consistent love and attention is missing, is when you start to make absurd connections in your brain. That, you know what, I received that much marks, and that's when mom, came and sat with me and she loved me. It means that I have to, bring good marks all my life. Or that, you know what, every time I dance, every time I make everyone laugh, that's when mom and dad really like me. So I will be the entertainer. I will entertain everyone. Such people think that their only value comes from being entertaining. So when you don't receive consistent love and attention, You as a child, because your cognitive development is so less at that moment, you are only able to see black and white. So you are able to see that, okay, when I do this, I receive love and attention, so that is what I'm supposed to do all my life. And as I've mentioned before also, that the connections you make in your brain, the foundational connections, the neural pathways that are formed growing up, become the basis of how you turn out as a adult. And that is why childhood trauma is the basis of evolution. Unless and until you don't work on your trauma, you are not actually going to change as a person. It will be a very temporary change, and you will go back to the same old habits. You will go back to the same old patterns. And that's why trauma work completely changes you as a person, completely evolves you as a person. So, your concept of self worth comes from your early childhood experiences, whatever you've experienced. And people who have a very low self worth are usually people who have not received unconditional love and attention. People who have a very shaky self worth are usually people who have received love and attention in bits and pieces, where mom and dad have been there sometimes they have not been there, so they also form absurd connections. And people who have high self-worth usually have had childhood experiences where they were not told that they were supposed to do something to earn love, where the child believed that they themselves are invaluable. Because one more thing that plays a very big role in shaping your self-worth is how your parents speak to you. Your parents' voice becomes your inner voice. So for example, if let's say person A is has grown up with a mother who has always told her that you have always been a very stubborn kid. Okay, let's say the mother has always told that to person A. So the person A starts to believe that about themselves. She starts to believe that she actually is stubborn. So she will either try to justify that identity all her life, or she will try to overcome it all her life. She will always feel that I can't ask for more because I'm stubborn, or that this is a flaw of mine. Whereas let's say there was person B, and she was told by her mother that you know what, you have always been um, let's say a problem solving child. Whenever you have a problem, you always solve it. And this mother has always told that to her child. So this child grows up believing that no matter what happens, I am a problem solver by nature. So whenever a problem comes into her life, she solves the problem and moves on. So how your parents speak to you also forms your self-worth. And these nuances are only discovered when you actually start doing trauma work with your coach. So whenever you are actually experiencing this problem of self-worth and self-confidence, always do trauma work. That the way it is going to change your brain chemistry, the way it is going to change you as a person, is just magical. Because I have done it on myself, and I have done it on my clients, and I've seen the results. Okay, now let's come to the point as to why actually do we attach our self-worth to our work. Right, that's the main topic of our conversation today. So the reason we attach our self-worth to our work is based on what were we appreciated for. So let's say that growing up, mom and dad were always very busy, and the only time they appreciated you, the only time they celebrated you, the only time they completely paid attention to you were when you were getting good marks in your school. So what will happen to such a child is that the child will feel that how much I achieve is my identity. Because when I achieve good, everybody likes me. It means that I'm a good child. I'm praised for achieving good marks. So this child starts to center their entire identity around achievement. And in school it will be marks, in college it will be about grades or the kind of jobs they're getting, and after they get into a job it will be money and external achievement. So all their life they will always chase after feeling good about themselves, because inherently they don't. Their self-worth is tied to something external. Here we are taking external as work, because that is very common in overachievers trauma, but it could be anything. And this tying your self-worth with work is what leads to actually overachievers trauma. So overachievers trauma is where a person is always running after something. They always tie their self-confidence to something external. They don't feel confident within themselves. They feel that they have to earn it. If this person goes into a new situation, a new company, a completely new place, they're going to feel very underconfident. They will only feel confident after they have uh, you know let's say, done something, right? So their self confidence is always earned. And usually, people with overachievers trauma tend to grow up with parents whose love and attention were conditional and transactional. It could be due to many reasons. It could be maybe your parents emphasized on achievement a lot. You grew up in a family where your parents always told you that you are the last hope, and it is only when you achieve will you be valuable. You saw that your parents looked very highly, looked up at other people very highly who achieved great things. For example, let's say you had a cousin or you had a friend who was an achiever, and your parents would always sing praises for them. So again, what you learn as a child is that I have to be like that person, or I have to achieve that much so that my mom and dad love me, right? So these connections start to form, which results into the overachiever's trauma, wherein the person becomes obsessed with achieving. The person's sole goal becomes achieving. And when they don't, they feel very bad about themselves. And now we are going to see some side effects of attaching your self worth to work. Now, before that, as I said, that the reason we attach our self worth to work is because that is what we were appreciated for. And always remember that we kids, okay, kids specifically, tend to do more of what they're appreciated for, right? Tend to do more of what they feel loved in. So when you love a child, when they make a mistake, they will make a mistake again and again. When you love a child, when they are achieving, they will want to do that again and again. But when you love a child, and when you make them feel that no matter what they do, you will always love them, that child will not tie their self-worth to something very specific, right? They will feel confident about themselves in all the situations. They will not feel invaluable if they're not achieving something. They will not feel worthless if they're not making money or not getting some designation, right? So this attachment to work is not actually healthy. And we are going to see why exactly it is not healthy. We are going to see some side effects of tying your self-worth to work. Okay. I will quickly see if there are any questions so far. Okay. So far, none. So we'll continue. All right. So the very first side effect of tying your self worth to your work is volatile confidence. So a volatile confidence is confidence which is something that comes to you when you have done something, right? So, for example, you got an increment in salary, you will feel very confident about yourself. But let's say because of some reason you were laid off, your confidence will go down. So, this is called volatile confidence, which means your confidence goes up and down based on something external. This external could be anything. This external could be awards, could be money, could be people praising you, could be some gaining some certificates or degrees. For example, you will see that some people love to always run after degrees, right? So this could be anything for you. So that is volatile confidence, when your confidence goes up and down. See, confidence is of two types, okay? One is skill based confidence, wherein you gain confidence in a certain skill. Another is natural confidence. I'm talking about the latter. I'm talking about feeling confident about yourself without trying to look for it outside. When you feel good about who you are, when there is complete acceptance of who you are. And when your self worth is tied to your work, that will not be the case. For example, there is a new manager that has come up and the old manager has left. Suddenly, you will feel very nervous. Oh my God, I'll have to start all over again. Or let's say you change the company, you feel a lot of pressure. Oh my God, I have to do so much. Or you want to, let's say, start a new business. You will be very afraid because you don't actually feel confident about yourself. So, people like these always end up waiting in their life. They are very afraid of change, and they always end up waiting to feel confident. And another thing with these people is that because their confidence is very volatile, they work on motivation a lot. They will rely on their motivation, and as a result, they lack consistency. So even if they want to do some changes in their life, they want to shift something in their life, they find it very hard because they're always waiting to feel prepared, or they're always relying on motivation that one day I will feel very motivated, one day I will feel very prepared. And they also don't take failures very well. Whenever they are not doing something, let's say something has failed or some experiment has failed, they will give up. They will feel very bad about themselves. They will become frozen. And that is why the success rate of such people is, it kind of stagnates after a while because they are very afraid of failure. Because again, for them, failing means I'm worthless. And imagine that every failure tells you that you're worthless, what will happen? You will not experiment only, right? And to actually succeed in your career, to actually succeed anywhere in life, you have to be willing to experiment. You have to be willing to fail without questioning your self-worth. So such people, their success rate tends to stagnate because they are not actually confident within themselves. Another is always chasing something. Such people find it very hard to rest without feeling guilty. They, and unfortunately, because we live in that culture, they think it's a good thing. You will often see some people, right? They will say, oh, you know what, I can never stay still. If I stay still, I feel guilty. If I stay still, I get FOMO. Ha ha ha, I can never stay still. I just love working. And this is considered a very good thing. What do they say? um, a, a good bad virtue, like a bad habit, but somehow it is benefiting you. That's the surface level way of how people think, because again, even to this day, we have this primitive thinking that if someone is working a lot, it means they will succeed, when in reality that's not the truth. If you actually want to create exponential success, you have to be very efficient, which means that you have to work less and think more. It's not about the hustle. But because here some people like to celebrate working more, and because they think it's something to be proud about, they don't actually work on it. They will find anything and everything to keep themselves busy. And because they're always chasing something, they always want to be busy, they actually don't reflect that why am I feeling so uncomfortable. Because any kind of success comes from strategic thinking, not mindless working, right? If mindless working were to be the thing, then anyone who is working 24/7 would make lots of money or would be successful, but that's not really the case. So first lesson would always be to not glamorize working a lot. If you're working a lot, it means you're insecure somewhere, so work on that. It's not something to be proud of. Second is, when you are always chasing something, you're not actually thinking or reflecting, right? You just want to do some kind of work, you just want to do some type of manual work because you're so scared about who you are when you're not working. Somewhere your freedom, your independence is tied to the money you are making. Somewhere your self-worth is tied to the money you are making or the achievements that you're doing or the work that you're doing. And that's a very sad place to be at, because your work has become your life, has become your work, and you are very afraid to let go. And here again, as I told you in the first point as well, you become very afraid of failure because you are very afraid of sitting still as well, right? So always chasing something is a very big side effect of overachievers trauma and tying yourself worth to work. Here, you feel guilty when you rest. You feel guilty when you're not working. You're not comfortable being at one place. You're always thinking about what's next. The next one is again very common is burnout. Burnout is when you have completely exhausted your mental and physical resources and you reach to a point where your body just gives out. And again, this is something that's celebrated. You will see people on LinkedIn putting photos from the hospital saying, I worked 12 hours a day, I made this much revenue, and but you know what, I landed in a hospital, ha ha ha, can't wait to get back to work. So such people often justify their burnout by mentioning their achievements so that they can keep on this cycle. They refuse to see how toxic it has become. So if you are also stuck in a cycle like that, I urge you to be real. I urge you to see that it's not something to be proud of. If you're landing in a hospital or if you're burning out, it means that you're not efficient. You are very scared and you don't actually know who you are without working. You don't actually know who you are without achievements. And that's very problematic. Work is one part of your life. If you've made it your entire life, it means that you have not actually put any kind of time in different areas of your life, right? So, burnout is another side effect. Next is chronic health issues. So, one thing that I've seen always with people who have overachievers trauma is chronic health issues. People who have overachievers trauma will always have some health issue going on. And this comes from two places. One is obviously unhealed trauma, because the thing is, trauma lives in your body. And when you don't release trauma from your body, it will sit in your body and it will result into physical manifestations of it, which is where sickness comes in. One is that Second is because such people are so afraid to rest, so afraid to look after their body, they will do anything to keep working, and they will ignore their body because their insecurity is louder than their health issues as well, right? So such people always face some kind of chronic health issue. And this is something that I've seen literally 100% of the time. Not even once I've come across a client I've worked with who had overachiever trauma and who did not have chronic health issues. In fact, if you are someone who always had chronic health issues, I highly recommend reflecting that, do you have overachievers trauma? And by the way, if you're someone who doesn't know what overachievers trauma is really about, I've written more about it on my LinkedIn post. Also, I have not discovered, explained this in depth in the free boot camp that I have. So you can just attend that as well, and you will find what exactly it is about. So chronic health issue is always a case with people who have overachievers trauma, because they have tied their self-worth to their work so much. And because you have to understand that when something as vital and foundational like self-worth is tied to your work, you will ignore everything else. You will ignore your relationships, you will ignore your children, you will ignore your health, you will ignore your parents, you will run after money, you will run after achievements, you will run after your work. Everything will take precedence, everything will, take a backseat. And this is not something to celebrate about. This is very unhealthy, and more than unhealthy, this has long term consequences. I have had clients who have come and told me that, Rianshi, we wish we worked on this before, because today we have chronic health issues that has no cure anymore, that we really can't get rid of. So before something becomes a chronic health issue, see, before trauma leads to chronic health issues of permanent damage, it will always give you signs. It will always give you signs like chronic pain somewhere in your body, or a constant worry in your head, constantly feeling like I have to run and run and run, constantly up and down, confidence. So your suppressed trauma will give you signs. If you ignore that signs, then it will convert into a chronic health issue, because nothing is a one day event, right? And it is only when we ignore or suppress trauma that it turns into something very big. Now, the next is consistent anxiety. Now, people who have overachievers trauma and people who tie their self worth to their work are always very anxious about their performance at work. So these are the people who will find it hard to, do public speaking. These are the people who will find it hard to, talk in front of their seniors properly. These are the people who will find it very difficult when they want to change their company, because again, for them, their self worth goes down where they have not proved themselves. They're always looking to prove themselves. They're always trying to, tell everyone that, what, yes, I'm worth it, I'm worth it, I'm worth it, right? So for these people it becomes very difficult, and they're constantly anxious about, will I lose my job, will I be replaceable, will I become poor, will I run out of money, what will happen to my work? So they're constantly thinking about that. And this constant anxiety also leads to health issues. This constant anxiety also affects every single part of your life, specifically your relationships with your partner and your children, because you can't think about anything else. So it's very important that if this is something that you have, consistently work on it, heal the trauma behind it, because this is not going to, go well very far. On a short term way, if you celebrate hustle culture, it may look very nice, but you must remember that suppressed trauma leads to chronic health issues. And chronic health issues, once it comes in, whatever money even you would make, it will all go into your health problems. So it's really not worth it, both factually speaking or otherwise. And another, again, very something very common is it can also trigger an identity crisis. So what tends to happen to some people, specifically when we talk about midlife crisis as well, so a lot of people who undergo midlife crisis usually have overachievers trauma, because their self-worth is very tied to their work. When there is a shift that is happening in the world, let's say what happened during the pandemic, right? We went digital and a lot of AI tools came in, and there was just a shift going on overall. So a lot of people who find security in their work, who tie their sense of security, their sense of self-worth to their work, become anxious when things change around them. And it can trigger a very big identity crisis, where a person may have a full-on breakdown when they don't get the job they want, when they don't get the position they want, when things are not going the way they want. So they become very controlling as well in their work. And when things are not going according to their way, they may have a very big nervous breakdown. They may have a very big identity crisis, right? So it is incredibly important that if you do have this issue, when you feel that, I get anxious when things are changing, or when things are not going according to my way at work, I feel very stressed, I want to control everything. Please work on this, because you have to remember that you can't control the world. Okay, be humble enough to accept it. The world will change, and if you want to survive it and thrive on it, honestly, you have to change with it without feeling that my world is ending. So identity crisis and a full on nervous breakdown is also very common for people like this. Okay, now let's talk about how can we actually overcome this. The very first thing is understanding the real issue. Now, one thing with people who have overachievers trauma is that they think that once they have a certain amount of money in the bank account, once they have a certain position, once they have, impressed a certain boss, once they've reached an income goal, once they have made this house or whatever, once they do it, everything will be great, right? So for them, happiness is a postponement, right? Happiness is always a future goal, and that's why all their life is almost always spent in misery or always thinking. They are never actually at peace. So when you are in that state, understand the problem, that the problem is not that you don't have enough money or you don't have the position, because there will always be another goal. The problem is that you think that something external is where your happiness and peace will come from, when in reality your happiness and peace is like your kidney and your heart. It's inside. And for you to come to inside instead of always focusing on outside, you need to do trauma work. We need to go back into your past, we need to go back into your childhood history, and we need to see where exactly did you lose your sense of safety. And we need to bring your nervous system into cohesion. And only then will you stop running. So understand the problem. The solution is not earning more money or running after another position. That is good. Do that, but that's not the answer to this. The answer is to stop looking for it outside. The answer is that no amount of money will ever lead to happiness, because you will again tie it to another goal. Right? So it's about inner sense of safety. All right. The next thing is thriving instead of surviving. Now, people who have overachievers trauma and people who tie their self worth to work are always in a survival mode. They're not thriving ever. So you have to understand that you must have read Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If in case you don't know, just go Google it. You will find it. It's a cute pyramid which tells us that there are tiers that we have in our life, and once we cross one tier, the basic tier, we go to the second, we go to the third, we go to the fourth. The most basic tier is food, water, and shelter. So only and only when food, water, and shelter need is met will we go to the second need, which is safety and security, wherein we build houses, we make friends, and like we take care of our safety and security, not friends. We get a house, we take care of our shelter, we take care of our clothes. Then comes in relationships, and then comes in self actualization, wherein you're at the personal growth level. So the problem with people who have overachievers trauma, that in that pyramid, right? Even if they have shelter, even if they have a good home, even if they have good relationships, they choose to stay stuck in the below level, and they constantly tell themselves that I don't have enough. And because their language is always I don't have enough, they're always stuck in the survival mode. So they're always surviving through life. And what happens to a person who's in survival mode? Their entire focus is living one day at a time. And think about this, okay? As human beings, when our body thinks, or when our body believes that we are in survival mode, it triggers stress hormones into our body. Okay, and those stress hormones are only supposed to be released when there is a do or die situation, because the amount of impact they have on our body. So imagine the do or die hormone that is supposed to release in your body is being released every single day, because you choose to not work on your trauma, and you choose to tell yourself that I don't have enough. So every single day you're just surviving. Imagine the amount of damage those stress hormones are having on your body. This is what also leads to chronic health issues to people who choose to not work on their trauma, because every single day for them is about survival, or every other day for them is about survival. They're always worried about their sense of safety. So when you are in oh, when you are suffering through this, you are in a survival mode, and our job is to take you from that survival mode to thriving mode, wherein you believe and you have that sense of enoughness inside of you. And this will not come from money, this will not come from achievements, this will not come from anything external. It will come from the inner sense of safety we develop between you and your inner child, right? And this is what brings me to the next point is, I'll give you two temporary things that you can start doing till the time you go take on one-on-one coaching. One is, I want you to develop a life outside of your work, which means that if you're spending 10 hours at work, I want to start spending 8 hours, and I wanted to dedicate 2 hours to something else. Because one of the reasons why people with overachievers trauma tend to feel so, let's say, anxious and worried about their work all the time is because work is all they have. They don't have anything in their life about apart from that. So start discovering your old hobbies. Start thinking about what is it that I used to do before in my childhood or growing up that I left because I started working. So start creating more space in your life. Take the time that you're spending on your work and use it onto something else. Create more space in your life for other things. The next thing that I want you to do is, I want you to do more things that are not transactional. So another thing with people who have overachievers trauma is that they're always looking for some benefit out of something. So for example, even if they are, uh, let's say learning how to cook, they will think, oh my god, what is the benefit in that? Or let's say if they're learning a skill, let's say they just want to learn how to design, they will think about, okay, this is how I can monetize it, this is how I can make money from it. So for them, everything is a transaction. And because they have a transactional relationship with everything in their life becomes very exhausting. Imagine, right? Imagine that you try to look for your gain in everything. How shallow does our life, become when we do that? So I wanted to start doing things that are less or no, there is no transaction in that. I wanted to go and just sit in the garden. I wanted to go learn something out of pure joy. So do more things that are not transactional, things that you do because you just want to. So these two are temporary things you can do. The last thing is the permanent solution. So the only permanent solution to actually having that immense amount of self-worth inside of you, not tying with your work, is inner child healing. And second, healing parental wounds. So inner childhood healing is when we go back into your past, we do regression therapy, and we help you connect with your inner child, and we basically fix the fragmented pieces, right, that got broken because of the trauma that you experienced. So inner childhood healing is non-negotiable for this. And second is healing parental wounds. So why healing parental wounds? Because one of the reasons why some people develop overachievers trauma is because of because of the kind of relationship they had with their parents. Now this doesn't mean that you have to have a toxic relationship with your parents. No, it can also be very possible that you have a healthy relationship with your parents on a surface level, but because of the incidents and the behaviors they have displayed in childhood, it has led to a certain type of identity, which is this tying your self-worth to your work. So healing those parental wounds, which is very important. And second is doing inner childhood healing, so the scarcity mindset can go away. So that is it for today. I have tried to wrap it up early today because I don't want to keep my live events very, very long, because I know they tend to get very long. So if you have any questions after watching this live event, feel free to text me. I think so far I don't have any questions, at least for today. So after you watch it, DM me your questions and share your insights with me. And in case you would like to do one-on-one work with me, you can just DM me coaching. And if you would like to get the free training on healing childhood trauma, again, just DM me bootcamp and I will send the training across. Thank you so much for joining. Bye bye.